Golden sun upon the sea,
golden sun is over me.
Ukulele melody,
drifting on a gentle breeze.
Let the worries fall away on this slow.
Hey guys, Uncle Sully back at you again. Guess what we're going to talk about? If you can't tell by what's going on in my screen in the back, we're going to milk some cows. I've been doing it for years. I grew up on a farm, and they used to call me Mr. Milk back in the day. I'm kidding. I grew up in San Francisco. I have no idea about milking cows, but this video is supposed to be about either calcium or milk, the calcium conundrum, or something like that. I'm not sure if this is going to fire
Milk
up.
aisle has become a surprisingly complicated place.
Okay, sorry about that. We'll start that again.
Milk aisle has become a surprisingly complicated place. You walk in looking for a simple staple, and instead you're faced with a wall of competing options, from standard dairy to a massive variety of plant-based alternatives, all shouting different nutritional claims. The problem is, most of us make our choice based on the bold marketing printed on the front of the carton. But human biology doesn't care about marketing. For decades,
That was a nasty shot, wasn't it? That looks like what they did to me in my last surgery. They cut me open, put me on a table, played around with it, probably wrote their names, graffitied, and they put it all back inside me again.
federal nutrition policy championed cow's milk as the gold standard for bone health. It was a guaranteed, high-quality delivery system for protein and calcium. Today, we are pulled between two extremes. On one side, a growing raw milk movement claims that any industrial processing destroys the beverage's health benefits. On the other, plant-based brands promise a cleaner, greener drink with 50% more calcium than dairy. Taking those label claims at face value can lead to a poor nutritional investment. If you actually want to get the calcium you need, you have to look past the carton and understand the chemistry of what you're drinking. Let's start with the nutrition facts panel. The milligrams of calcium listed on the back are just a measurement of the raw ingredients poured into the vat at the factory. It is not a guarantee of what your body will actually absorb.
Really, when you're drinking milk, are you thinking about poured into the vat at the factory? You don't think about that. You think of beautiful cows, and they're some beautiful woman is just squirting stuff into a bucket. No, that was the picture. The one with the guy pouring in all kinds of nasty crap.
Science, the metric that actually matters is bioavailability. This is the exact amount of nutritive calcium that survives digestion, crosses into your bloodstream, and is successfully integrated into your bones. You can swallow a massive volume of calcium, but
I don't know how they measure that. How do they measure how much is actually getting into your bones from just that source when you're eating a bunch of food? I'd like to know how they did that test. Anyway, I'm kind of a nerd.
Cannot extract and transport those minerals into the blood. Most of that intake will simply pass right through you. Your true nutritional value is determined by absorption efficiency in your gut, not by the gross milligrams manufactured into the drink. This brings us to the raw milk trend. A growing number of people are drinking unpasteurized milk, driven by a fear that industrial thermal processing destroys the natural nutritional matrix of the dairy.
Well, I mean, it kind of does. I can't tell you specifically how much, but you're talking about getting live cells in your body. In other words, live food like fruits and vegetables that you eat raw, or just lightly steamed, oranges and apples and bananas and papayas and mangoes and all this kind of stuff, and lettuce and bell peppers and all this stuff that you kind of cook a little bit. You don't cook them, you don't boil them. When you boil milk, it kills the live cells, which makes it last longer, but you can't think that it doesn't kill some of the nutrition, right?
Untreated raw milk was a major vector for severe foodborne pathogens, As populations grew and supply chains got longer, contaminated milk caused widespread lethal illnesses. This table lists the regulatory and public health authorities that issue warnings about raw milk. The consensus across the medical community is unified and unequivocal. Consuming raw milk carries a severe risk of infection. In the late 19th century, microbiologist Louis Pasteur discovered that applying mild heat could deactivate unwanted microorganisms. This shift to thermal processing solved a massive public health crisis and made the modern dairy supply chain possible. It is true that heat causes a negligible drop in vitamins like B12, E, and C. However, human beings do not rely on milk as a primary dietary source for these specific vitamins in the first place.
And it is my opinion that once you get to a certain age, you should not be drinking a whole lot of milk just purely because it's saturated fat. And I want to get my fat from steak and good food. I don't want to drink. I know people that drink a half a gallon of milk a day or more. And maybe you can get away with that when you're young, but that much fat intake when you're older can be tough and could be affecting your fat, your bad fat in your blood, which you should think about that if you're drinking a lot of it. Personally, just me, I cut rid of milk when I was in my 30s after I had heart surgery, when I realized how much fat there was in it. And I can't even drink milk now. It tastes awful. I've tried some of it. It's other than creamer. But I'm a weird person, so let's move on.
Drinking raw milk means taking a historically proven severe health risk for zero measurable nutritional advantage. The modern process used to ensure safety is called high-temperature short-time pasteurization, or
Or boiling.
It's a highly precise industrial solution designed
142 degrees Fahrenheit. A little bit on the hot side. I would call that boiling.
without boiling the milk away. This flowchart maps the milk processing sequence. Raw milk arrives, is purified, and enters the regeneration phase, preheated by already pasteurized milk. It then reaches the critical holding tube, kept at 72 degrees Celsius.
Yes, I want my milk to hang around in the holding tube before I drink it in the morning. Me and my tube filtered milk are in my Captain Crunch. Delicious!
Effectively sterilizing the drink. This heat causes physical changes.
It liberates self-hydro groups and denatures whey proteins, altering the texture slightly and giving pasteurized milk a familiar cooked flavor. But crucially, the highly bioavailable
It has a familiar cooked flavor? If you say so.
remains entirely intact. This diagram illustrates the homogenization process. Following pasteurization, the milk is forced through a narrow valve under high pressure. This violently shatters the
They beat the crap out of your milk in the morning before you drink it. Like I said, it's not just coming out of the hills of the Himalayas with some young woman, squeezing the teats. No, it's going through tubes and processes and 142 degrees, and now it's squeezed through a valve, so it's homogenized product. The basic product, and at the end, it's homogenized. I want some. I'm running to the store right after this video. I'm getting some milk and just loving it.
tiny uniform particles so they don't separate and float to the top.
I want my milk in little uniform particles. That's the way I always like it. Don't give me the haphazard particles. I want them uniform.
EST pasteurization relies on intense mechanics to guarantee biological safety, all while preserving the naturally efficient calcium delivery system. Now let's look at plant-based alternatives. These beverages offer excellent sustainability benefits and vital relief for dairy allergies. However, oats, almonds, and soybeans inherently lack the naturally high-density calcium found in dairy. To make up for this deficit, manufacturers rely on artificial fortification. They add calcium into the mixture at the factory, which creates the illusion of a one-to-one nutritional equivalency when you read the nutrition label.
Right, I remember seeing about this long time ago. It doesn't soak in. The fake stuff doesn't It doesn't soak in, like, again, like your vitamin pill. Depending on how your body digests it, a lot of it can just get passed through because it's not in your food. It's a chemical representation of, vitamin D, vitamin C, vitamin whatever it is. So your body doesn't digest it the same. I've always taken a vitamin. Maybe we'll go over what I take with my vitamins and stuff, just because it can't hurt. I'm not positive how much it helps, but I think that's what they're going to talk about here. Let's see.
The first chemical hurdle. Many brands use a compound called tricalcium phosphate, or TCP, to fortify their milk. It is a common, inexpensive ingredient, but it is much less soluble in the human gut, making it difficult for your body to absorb. This chart compares the total calcium printed on the label against the bioavailable calcium actually absorbed by the human body. While cow's milk shows high absorption efficiency, a TCP-fortified plant milk shows a massive drop-off between label claims and what your bones actually get. The second hurdle involves naturally occurring anti-nutrients. Soybeans contain high levels of phytates, compounds that chemically bind to calcium and actively block your body from absorbing it. When you combine poor fortification with phytate interference, the absorption rate plummets. You can improve your odds by seeking plant milks fortified with a different compound called calcium carbonate, which achieves a much higher fractional absorption rate, but finding it requires you to meticulously read the fine print on the ingredient list. Plant-based milks are ultimately engineered dietary supplements. Much of their advertised calcium is excreted rather than utilized.
Yeah, you can pretty much be sure if it's not cow's milk, if it's almond milk or soy milk or whatever, that the calcium or any of the other vitamins are probably the chemical. They're not derived from the product itself, right? They're from, like a vitamin pill. They're chemical, basically, a powder that they put in. But I'm not 100% sure, but you can pretty much, other than being delicious, they're not a crazy amount of good stuff in the almond milk or the soy milk, other than the soy, the protein. But that's what I hear through the grapevine.
Vigilant about the specific chemicals used to make them. We are left with a clear biological trade-off. Cow's milk offers a highly efficient calcium delivery system, but requires industrial heat to be safe. Plant milk is environmentally sustainable and allergy-friendly, but chemically inefficient at delivering minerals. Completely swapping dairy for poorly fortified plant milks without adding other calcium-rich whole foods to your meals can create a silent nutritional deficit over time. The marketing on the carton is a promise, but bioavailability is the...
But there's foods that you wouldn't think actually have a lot of calcium and other vitamins in it. Remember correctly, broccoli has like a lot of calcium in it. There's fruits and vegetables and other stuff that have a lot of these vitamins in it that you think, oh, milk's the only place I can get the calcium, but that's not 100% true. You should look it up if you're thinking about cutting milk loose to get rid of the fat and go, but I want the calcium. Look it up, high calcium foods. Maybe they'll talk about here. Oh, they only got a few more seconds, but look that up.
Your long-term bone density depends entirely on knowing the difference between the two. Navigating the milk aisle comes down to a strategic decision based on your personal tolerances and goals. This decision tree maps optimal paths. If vegan, prioritize calcium carbonate over TCP, sourcing whole food calcium. Don't gamble on raw milk. Safety risks are severe and nutritional return is negative. For peak bone health, pasteurized cow's milk remains the most biologically efficient daily calcium. You have the tools to ignore the loud marketing on the front of the carton. Make your dietary investments based...
Oh, that stopped. That cut loose. I'm sorry to hear that, but I think it gave us all the information that we really needed. It's kind of interesting. It's good to know. Like I said, milk is something, even though it looks delicious on the screen behind me here, it's a lot of high fat. It's like big glasses of fat. It's kind of like taking, like the fat that you cut off a steak or pork or bacon and just put it in a glass in a liquid. It's basically, that's what it is. So it's something I cut out decades ago. I can't even, like I said, if I try to drink a glass of milk, I'm not going to tell you what it tastes like. It tastes disgusting. So anyway, there's my milk video. Actually, I got another milk video. I made two because I was concentrating on milk. I'm not sure exactly what the other one does. Maybe I'll do that one also, but I've got others going on and hopefully giving you a lot of information and having a lot of fun and giving you things to think about because we need to think. Thanks, everybody. Aloha.
Golden sun upon the sea.
Golden sun is over me.